I'll get started in a minute. Just get my glasses a little clean so I won't be as blind as I am. Hopefully you all had a great day, having a good evening, or to people on the East Coast, a good night. That didn't do any better. Hold on a second. All right, I guess that's better. All right, I guess we will go ahead and get started. This is What I've Been Thinking with Marcus Cage. Of course, as you can see, I'm Marcus Cage. As you see from the title, I have it titled Little Nas X, Derek Chauvin Trial, Biden's Border, AOC, and more. And I was gonna wait till the weekend to weigh in on all these different topics, but it was just so much stuff going on that I was like, I need to weigh in on at least some of these things before who knows what's gonna come throughout the rest of this week. So I guess I will start off first with the Derek Chauvin trial. I haven't heard a great deal. I haven't been able to follow it minute to minute, but some of the things which I did hear about, which really jumped out at me, that I wanted to expound on a little bit. The paramedic, or not paramedic, sorry, firefighter. I believe fire slash paramedic. Well, anyway, the advice which she was telling them is that they needed to get down there and check him because he was looking like he's non-responsive, and they needed to check to see if indeed that some medical assistance was needed. She testified on the stand that she did tell those officers that, and the care that they showed, zero. They could care less. They just let him lay there. So for all we know, even after the 9 minutes, maybe he could have still been revived. But they didn't even take the care to try. They were perfectly fine with him just dying there on the pavement. Another one of the witnesses. I heard two other witnesses. One of them was the 17-year-old young lady, which, because of some weird court proceedings, they didn't want to show certain evidence. But we all are pretty familiar what happened with the George Floyd, basically murder that the whole world had to watch. She said that she felt almost guilty. Well, she didn't say almost. She said she felt guilty. She had trouble sleeping, feeling like she should have did more in that situation. And I mean, imagine what that trauma feels like on that young lady, with how much attention and, fame and everything that this story has taken on. And to be 17 years old, right in the middle of something like that. I mean, I guess to me, it kind of touched me in a different way. I don't know, maybe others out there felt, a little bit emotional about what she's experienced and what she had to go through. And we can go into so many reasons on how he shouldn't have done it, how stupid it was, this and that. People can argue from the other side. Most of you all, of course, more than likely know my perspective on it, that there was a million things that he could have did, and so did for it not to end up the way it did. So therefore, by ending up in the way it did, it is completely his fault. And what I worry about is, for some reason, when certain people get convicted, or get charged, indicted, the jurors it's almost like they look for any excuse to let that person off the hook. No matter how ridiculous the excuse they come up with. Oh, well, he had a heart condition, or maybe he had drugs in his system. Well, the most sober person who's never taken any kind of drugs or alcohol or anything would probably, die if a 200-pound man, put both his knees on their neck. I mean, to take the kind of steps to say, okay, well, maybe possibly it was something in the system. It doesn't matter if it was something even in his system. It doesn't matter even if he had a heart condition. The situation you were doing caused his death. Point blank, period. Now, if this was a person of, let's say, Middle Eastern descent, as an officer, would this be, a doubt in all of our minds to which way this is going to go? I mean, if it was, anybody, let's just be frank with it. If it was anybody who was non-white in this situation, the probability of justice always goes down. And I know some people are going to like that, but the stats show it. I mean, so, oh yeah, the other witness that was screaming on the video that he's using a death joke. And he's a mixed martial artist. I mean, I might not be using the correct terminology, but this young man is in that arena and he recognized something which is forbidden in the arts which he practices. And he's yelling that as a safety precaution. Now, when I was in the military, how it worked is when it comes to safety, it doesn't matter what rank you are, who you are, police officers, it doesn't matter. Safety is safety. If you're possibly risking somebody's life, you need to listen in a safety procedure, even for police officers. But I just got a creeping feeling that even if this man gets convicted, his sentencing is going to be far less than he deserves. I guess I'll go on to the next topic. AOC. AOC is not a fun topic to talk about, and a lot of times I avoid even bringing her up. I feel like enough people who are her, I guess, cheer squad and behind the squad and all that, that's fine. You guys can believe or do what you want with that. For me, if you come into power and you say that the way you were using your toolkit or whatever, as a hammer, but now you have more tools. Well, when you were using the hammer, you had more support behind you. Now that you're supposedly using all these wrenches and screwdrivers and other tools, we're not seeing results. And so we're taking a lot of the venom and sting out of it. If you're not doing any better with the supposed inside game versus the outside game, then what is the point? And when you strip it away, if we're not getting anything on our end, but you're having the possibility of career advancement, to me, that's not a good look. So I would say if you don't see results to a satisfactory, level, then it should definitely call into question to some of you who are still extremely loyal to AOC that something's wrong, something's up. I mean, for me, I heard Nico all the time back in the day. I mean, easily a year ago or so, was raising all the sirens and flags when it came to the Tulsi's, trying to remember, what was it, the Off Fossil Fuels Act. A lot of principles of the Green New Deal that ripped from that directly. And she didn't give credit to Tulsi. I knew about that during the primaries, and, you know, who am I? I'm not that, big of a deal. So, yeah, I say my little opinion, but who cares? But, well, I won't say who cares. Some of you actually do care and enjoy my opinion. So, my apologies there. But as far as on a larger scale, I just don't have that kind of platform or outreach where there's a lot of people who are actually hearing what I'm saying, who are in positions of power that I know of, that can actually affect some of these changes, or bring some of these warning sirens. And I feel like what we do a lot of times in the political world is whatever we identify with first, we identify with that. And then if information is coming out from a source which we feel like is not part of our team or our tribe, it is just harder to hear that. And scientifically, that even makes sense. I mean, we all come from tribes, so we would all be tribal to a degree. I mean, that's not going to go out of us. And so back in those days, you were by a nation or kingdoms. Now, in the political world, you're by libertarian or communist or conservative or evangelical, whichever one. And then all information is decided more than likely with unintentional lean on the information that we don't even think about. For me personally, a lot of things which conservatives used to say about Obama, I ignored. I would make excuses for. And the reason why is because it was already coming from a corrupt source. Now, are they going to be right on everything? No, but if we are so-called intelligent like we believe that we are, we're supposed to be able to, shift through what's real and what's nonsense, what has a slant, get past they get on and say Democrat Party and say, instead of saying Democratic Party, which most of these people have went to college, they're scholarly, they're doing it as a little petty insult just to start off the conversation. Um, and it even goes back to, there's plenty of books which go into all these different little tactics which they do to just jab at each other. And while they're doing that, they're enacting that tribalist urge to, hey, they attacked us, I need to attack back. Now we don't physically do it anymore, we do it verbally. We get on, tweet this, tweet that, go after this person, go after that person. And what happens is the whole information gets skipped. And we don't really vet through any of it. Just like the Clinton emails, but that's a whole nother story. I see Thomas is in the chat. He said, what the 17-year-old black girl saw did traumatize her. It traumatized many young blacks. Stuff like that further contributes to the intergenerational trauma. It's the same thing with other minorities. That is a fact. And another thing which I found interesting, which scientists came out with, that trauma is passed down generationally. So if your people went through trauma after trauma after trauma, that trauma passes down through generation. Hold on one second. Let me grab something to drink. Yummy. Having a little mango nectar. It's quite tasty and definitely a better substitution than a lot of the stuff which I drink most of the time. Let's see. Oh yeah, still talking about. Okay. Yes, that's right. Where we've talked about the Derek Chauvin trial and then the Biden border wall. That one is very, very interesting because most people, of course, are going to love playing this political football. And like I tweeted out earlier today, I said, you know, Ted Cruz is now the political warrior for the Latino people. But he didn't care about those same very people when Trump was in power. Did not care at all. Now, am I trying to say that, oh, well, now I'm going to jump down Biden's throat and Biden's this and that and act like, a Republican? No, I'm not going to do that. Just like the Democrats were so happy to go after Trump, but most of them are quiet as a church mouse right now while this is going on. We all know this is going on, and we all know this has not changed. In fact, to some degree, some of the policies which Biden have done might be a little worse. But hey, everything's kind of running along to normal. And what we don't realize, well, I won't say what we don't realize, what many people don't realize is things are always kind of running along to normal. The only thing that you're seeing is the different characters on the screen. Some are a little bit more hyperactive, some are a little bit more calm, and you're just getting a milder puppet show than the one you were getting before. All the DOD heads, Pentagon, are still running the same situations in the Middle East. They're still working on trying to get this contract for this bomber unit, or get funding for this new carrier project, or get funding for light rail weapons on destroyers, whatever they're trying to come up with. That stuff is still rolling along. Chamber of Commerce is still protecting the hides of the banks, still trying to, do whatever they can for Wall Street and big business. These same people who cycle in, all these nameless people, which we have no clue who they really are, because it would take too long just to dig down through all of these agencies for most of us. I mean, some do, and bravo and hats off to those who do that kind of research, because it is needed. But most of us can't, track down all of these, obscure characters who are really putting forth all the actual legislation. And what we're dealing with is the figurehead or figure woman who walks in front of the camera and says, hey, we tried on this and this didn't really happen, and sorry, but we're going to try next time. The Republicans kicked our butt, but we got a strategy. And the whole time, most of the people you see talking have nothing to do with any of the writing of the bills, any of the organization of it, any of the editing, crafting, nothing. They come in and say a couple of ideas, they walk out, let their staff do a whole bunch of stuff. Staff comes back with it, talks to this other staff, that staff talks to that staff. Then they all come together and work out something, and then hand back a shortened summary to that elected official. And then they walk out there like they've been just busting their tail all night long, burning the midnight oil. Whoo, it's been so tough. It's been so hard. Now we pass this bill that's a half-assed bill, and let's go back on vacation. I mean, this is ridiculous. The same thing that's been going on, honestly, you can say going back to Bush, all it's done is each year it's increased and gotten worse with whichever natural disaster which was going on in South America, with whatever, whether it was natural disasters, wars, coups, which our government has had a big hand in, are creating those same migrants, which they are detaining right down there on the border. And they haven't come up with any better solutions. This is COVID, and the more caring Biden administration. Why aren't they all separated, the proper distance? Why are they all clogged up together? All of these people are coming from different areas. This is not one family group, so it's perfectly fine. These are tons of people who are coming from various different countries, nations. You don't know who has what, who could be sick with this and that. You're just cramming them all together. And then what's going to happen is, because of that situation, you're going to get a lawyer who's smart enough and tricky enough that he's going to say, you know what, this treatment, because it's inhumane and cruel, we are going to not only get them speeded to the head of the line as far as getting citizenship or going through a refugee situation, you are also going to pay them restitution. This is a situation which Biden might be getting himself into. And here's the thing. If it's one or two people or 20 or 50, that's one thing. But if they start winning in court, people start winning, which they justifiably should, the Biden administration is in for a rude awakening. And the days of everybody just kind of sitting on their hands, I think that the desperation and poverty and just widespread misery is starting to touch enough people. And so what we're doing is we're trying to tell ourselves, oh, don't worry. We're going to get back to, normal. We're going to get back to all the things we want to do. Just get the shot. Everything's going to be fine. While we have states like Florida, which have been busted to be lying on their numbers. Now, did we just not have a situation with New York? I'm not, Nostradamus or anything, but I got a feeling that we're going to start hearing more and more jumps. The last jump I heard was about 16%. So we're going to start finding out more and more of these people who were lying about their actual numbers, for whatever reasons, whether it was for some kind of political advantage to try to say, oh, we're doing better in our area, or whatever they're doing. Whether it was to hide something like what was going on in New York, or whether it's just simply because their economy is starting to suffer, and so they want to get the businesses back open. Or it could be just a mixture of all of these things and the pressure they're getting from their constituents. All of these things have to be factored in. And that's what everybody's trying to get you focused on, all this other stuff, to forget about things like this. To forget about that, more than likely Derek Chauvin is going to get off. More than likely, and I forgot to mention the fact that Harris, the interesting thing about the Kamala Harris thing is they're spinning it through the media as a good thing, as a positive thing. But what I see it as, honestly, from a tactical point of view, if I'm an old white man and this is a situation where it's a weak point for me, these approval ratings have just come out, I'm looking good in this area. If I put a minority, especially a minority female, over this situation, even if things don't go as good, it's going to be a lot harder for them to come at a minority female than an old white male. And so forth, if the press comes at her the wrong way, then they're going to be able to just take that and say, well, now you're being sexist, you're being this, you're being that, to get away from the whole issue, to dodge. And I'm telling you, I could be wrong, but to me, that's the only reason why he put Harris over that situation. If you look at California, she really did mostly just locking people up. She didn't, granted, I'm being a little, what's the word, hyperbolic, I guess. But as far as dealing with the border and stuff like that, that is what is it, Department of Homeland Security, that's ICE, that's all these other agencies that have nothing to do with Kamala Harris, especially all the way up in Oakland. Let's see. And the last topic I have, I held it for last because I look at it as almost a little bit of political dynamite. Me being a religious man, the levels of blasphemy that I saw in that video, wow. I'm definitely not going to play any kind of clips or nothing of it. For those who are not familiar with what I am talking about, Lil Nas X, the singer, who is openly LGBTQ, has decided to, I guess, in some way flip a middle finger to Christianity or the Bible or God or Yahweh, as I call him, all together. Everybody. And so in the video, he has some, it's basically biblical theme showing Adam and Eve and a serpent. And it starts going into him about to kiss the serpent and then falls down into going to hell and, I guess, down a stripper pole. To hell, and then apparently giving the devil or giving Satan a lap dance, and then possibly alluding to them to I didn't really want to go into I let people kind of surmise most of the video, so I'll let you all, if you want to check it out, go ahead. Go where the Satan, the king of evil, is having intercourse with him, and then he gets up and breaks Satan's neck, and then puts Satan's horns on his head. So now he's Satan. Boy, a whole lot there. My thing is, whatever a person wants to do with their sexuality, it is none of my business at all. So that is perfectly fine. My issue is when you start bringing the Bible and mixing all of these different themes. And here's the thing: if you want to worship Satan, that is your own will also. If you're an atheist and you don't want to worship anything or whatever other religion that you might be, that's not what this is about necessarily, about everybody's religions. It's just when you pick Satan, that you're Satan now, that's going somewhere else. That's going to a whole nother level. And in my faith, that's like a huge blasphemy. And the fact that these shoes, they didn't get permission from Nike, for one. They're the Air Max 97s. They did not get permission from Nike. It's a company by the name of Mischief, I believe. So they are currently being sued by Nike. And they sold 666 pairs. I'm not sure if they sold the last one because the plan was to auction off the last pair, which the other pairs were going for $1,000 a piece. So somebody out there who has a lot of money obviously loves Satan. So more power to them, I guess. Let's see, what did you say there? So this little Nas X flipped the bird to the whole Abrahamic. Well, yeah, true. If you think about it, yeah, the whole Abrahamic religions, just thinking he was just trolling the major religions. I understand how religious people may find it offensive. Well, my thing is, this is what people who are against so-called religious people, this is the thing which they don't get. It's not like I sat down and I wrote out, okay, yeah, if I had some beliefs, this is what I want it to be. I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want to be able to do this. And I don't like these people, so I want to be able to do this too. And I want to be able to hurt these. No, that's not how this works. For me personally, how it works is I'm able to see the manifestations of stuff in the book in the real world. Now, if somebody gives me a book, I'm not talking about the actual literal book right now. I'm talking about going back to the actual tablets, when you go back to the what is it, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and going back to the Septuagint, or even the Codex Sinaiticus, or all of these different ancient texts which they used. When you go to them, they were intact. They weren't doctored. So yes, some people have played around with wording in different translations of the Bible, and some of the translations over the years have not been entirely proper. That's the reason why I recommend anybody, when they're reading certain controversial or critical scriptures, to actually just look up and see what the translation of the Aramaic word is, or the Greek word is, and or the Hebrew word. And if you start looking into these languages, this will start telling you a whole lot of interesting things about a lot of things that are going on even in this world today. And so even though people say, they have all these different calculations on how old certain archaeology is, and or not, and what I'm able to do is, okay, this secular archaeologist has discovered this, and this is his findings, and she has discovered this, and this are her findings. Now, they have different time frames, but if you put them together, you may be talking about a 400 to 500 year difference. And so when you go into, say, Bible texts, and you start reading and keeping with the chronological order when it starts talking about certain years, because don't think that, oh, you read from Genesis all the way to the Revelations and it's just a story going like that. It's a story which hopscotches all around, and it prophesies stuff before, and it refers to stuff back in the beginning. Just like a good movie where they do those, they throw in little Easter eggs and stuff which, if you go back later on and you see something, you're like, oh, that don't mean what I thought that meant at all, not even close. And so now this makes more sense. And so I don't even know where I was going with that, but it was fun. Let's see, what did you say, Thomas? Said Nike has over 1 billion customers who are religious. They want to protect one of their biggest buying power demographics. So I understand why they're all, yeah, I understand entirely. Also, another thing is, whenever you have, legal properties and rights, copyrights to things, you just can't randomly just take somebody's stuff and decide that you want to make a project off of it. It doesn't work that way. And somebody like Little Nas, on that level of success and fame with all the lawyers and all that around him, should know better than to just randomly do something stupid like that. I mean, I guess, yeah, sometimes people gamble and they figure, oh, well, maybe I'll try it. And it could, I could get some backlash, but I could make a lot of money. So, I mean, that could be some people's motivations. I won't go down the extreme conspiracy theory, where people are saying different. I'll just give a random theory, because there are some real ones out there which are, it's a little scary and a little crazy. But let's just say that let's just say one of the theories where they say these Illuminati theories, let's just say that the snake was symbolizing something that's about to happen, and then CERN is going to open up, and they're trying to open up a portal for Satan to bring the Antichrist, which is going to be like this evil Superman, and he's going to subdue the whole world. And you're like, what? That's never mind. Some people are so deep into, misunderstanding the first steps that it's hard to even have a conversation to bring them back to what some of this stuff, is alluding to. I mean, for instance, it'll be parts when it starts talking about the trees and the trees. And then people say, oh, well, this means that. Well, if you go back a certain part, it'll say, well, when I'm referring to trees, I'm referring to people. When I'm referring to mountains, I'm referring to nations. Um, and so if you don't understand some of those things, when you're reading some of these verses, it's not going to make sense. For instance, when it's talking about earth in the Bible or the world, well, not earth, but when it talks about the world every time doesn't always mean the whole world. Because if you go back to the Hebrew, well, not the Hebrew, the Greek, the word world in, for instance, John 3:16 means cosmos, which cosmos is an arrangement, a government, a nation, basically. So when it's talking about the world, it's talking about a certain world. So, I mean, some of the things which people don't understand, but I mean, like you were saying, Thomas, that is a lot of money they stand to lose messing around. I mean, letting something like this slide. So they have to snap back hard and hope that nobody else will be foolish enough to do it. But 2021 is still early, so who knows what craziness that we're probably gonna see coming up next. And I just want to clarify this also. This is not my disagreement with Little Nas and all the stuff he's doing is against Little Nas. Don't take this to be, oh, well, you're talking about the whole community. No, 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 no. This is a Little Nas thing. And this is a thing for somebody who, like I said before, you can have your own religions, faith, be an atheist, but even when I'm dealing with an atheist, I try to deal with them in a manner where I'm not trying to be offensive to them, if I don't have to be. You know what I'm saying? It's no need to be offensive or be a jerk if you don't necessarily have to. And so I try to keep that up, even when dealing with other different faiths, religions, non-faiths, whatever. But what Lil Nas did is, it's almost like just walking up to people who are sitting at a table, randomly talking, and going right in their face. It's like, I didn't do anything to you. And you got to remember, even though there is a sect of people in the religious community that make their whole mission to find every scripture about homosexuality and tell every person who is a homosexual about them. That's, for one, that's not what that's what I said. When it goes back to understanding, there's a lot of things you got to go understand. But the thing about it is, whatever the Bible says, that's what it says. It's not your goal. It's not, well, it shouldn't be your goal or your purpose to spread any kind of information to anybody who does not want the information. Whether you're talking politics, whether you're talking religion, whether you're talking world events, if people don't want to hear it, just get out of their face. It's not that hard. So with that said, I was wondering if there's any questions in here about, or any other topics that you all noticed that you want to talk about. Let me know. I guess I'm trying to think. It was something else that I saw right before I got on that I wanted to talk about, but I cannot remember it at this time. And I'm gonna try to be doing more of these just little mini live streams. I mean, during the week, I'm not gonna go really long. Of course, I still have research and working on videos for my other channels and stuff like that. And so, but that said, that I am going to do more live streams. So try to keep notice and lookout. I realized kind of when I've had some of these little hiatus in between working on different projects or even just taking a break for a while, it's kind of destroyed the algorithm for me for a little while. And it's not like the algorithm was really working in my favor before, but that's a whole nother story. But I wasn't helping myself by the gaps that I had taken in between. So I need to do a little bit more, bring you guys a little bit more content, talk about some more events that are just going on out in the media, which I'm hearing about and thinking about all day long, and I'm like, this is crazy. And then by the time the weekend comes, when I want to do my longer live stream, I feel like it's so much stuff to talk about that I don't know where I want to go with it sometimes. So I'm gonna try to do just more of these here and there. Also, look out for them on my other channel, Hebrew Apologetics. I might have a debate coming with somebody soon on the Bible. They are a Orthodox, I believe it's Orthodox Christian. I will make sure to tweet that out. Make sure to look for it. Um, I guess there's no questions, no more comments. I guess I will get out of here, and you all have a good night.